I stood before the mirror, my trembling hands gently smoothing the edges of my pristine white wedding dress. Today was my wedding day, the day every girl dreams of, the day I, Emma Thompson, would step into a new chapter with James, the man I loved more than my own heart. The dress shimmered like starlight, meticulously crafted by top artisans in New York, hugging my body like a promise of eternal happiness. I smiled, my heart racing, my hands tightly clutching a bouquet of white carnations. But deep inside there was a strange premonition, as if the opulent atmosphere of the Mandarin Oriental Hotel was concealing something dark. I decided to do something unexpected. I wanted to see James's eyes when he saw me in this dress before the ceremony. The sound of my high heels clicked on the marble floor as I stealthily crossed the hallway, my heart brimming with excitement. James's door was just a few steps away. I pictured his smile, the warm gaze I had fallen in love with from our first meeting at a small roadside cafe in Boston. But as my hand touched the doorknob, a laugh echoed from inside James's voice, low and smug. I froze, curiosity taking over, and pressed my ear against the heavy wooden door. "Just make sure she takes one more pill before the wedding," James said, his voice soft but cold as a blade. "She'll die right after the vows, or maybe before. It doesn't matter. Once she's gone, everything, her money, her properties, all of it will be ours." My heart stopped. I stood there paralyzed, as if the world had collapsed beneath my feet. A pill death. I tried to breathe, but the air seemed to have been sucked out of the room. James, the man I had given my heart to, the one I shared all my dreams and secrets with, was talking about killing me. And then his voice continued, this time carrying a smile I could sense through the door. "Hope you've got your bridesmaid dress ready, Sarah." Sarah. Her name stabbed through my chest like a dagger. Sarah, my best friend from high school, the one who cried with me through breakups and laughed with me through late-night talks. She was one of my bridesmaids, someone I trusted like a sister. But now she was James's accomplice in his plot. I wanted to scream, to pound on the door and confront them. But my legs trembled and the bouquet slipped from my hands, falling to the floor with a soft thud. I covered my mouth, stifling a sob, and stepped back. My high heels clicked on the floor, each step echoing the horrifying truth invading my mind. I ran, the wedding dress billowing behind me like a ghost in flight. The hallway seemed endless, the expensive paintings on the walls blurring in my vision. Tears began to fall, smudging the makeup I had spent hours perfecting. I didn't know where to go, but I knew I needed my parents, William, my father, and my stepmother, the only people I still trusted. They were downstairs in the family lounge. If something terrible happened, they had to know the truth. I rushed down the stairs, nearly tripping over the long, cumbersome dress. My vision started to blur, the twinkling chandeliers on the hotel ceiling dancing before my eyes. My chest tightened, a strange sensation spreading through my body, cold, heavy, as if my blood was slowing. "No, not yet," I told myself. "You have to survive, Emma, just a little longer." I bit my lip, forcing my body to keep moving even as my legs grew weak. Finally, I reached my parents' door. My trembling hands pushed it open and I nearly collapsed inside. My father, William, and my stepmother stood up, their faces filled with worry as they saw me. My wedding dress sprawled across the carpet like a crushed flower. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" my father shouted, grabbing my shoulders. "What happened?" They want to kill me," I whispered, my voice breaking. Tears streamed down my cheeks, mingling with the pain and betrayal. "James and Sarah." I couldn't finish the sentence. My head spun and then darkness closed in. My body went limp, collapsing into my parents' arms. My father's shouts for help echoed in my ears, but I couldn't respond. Everything faded into silence. My father's screams. William's voice reverberated through the hotel hallway, sharp as a knife slicing through the night. "Help somebody, please help us!" His voice cracked with panic, as if his entire world was crumbling. I lay in his arms, my body frail, my white wedding dress now crumpled, sprawling across the floor like a reminder of a shattered dream. My stepmother knelt beside me, her trembling hands clutching mine, calling my name through sobs. But in my mind, everything was a fog. James's voice, his wicked whispers about the pill, about my death, replaying like a haunting song. The hotel hallway, once glamorous with oil paintings and crystal chandeliers, turned into a whirlwind of chaos. The sound of hurried footsteps, doors slamming open, cries and shouts blended into a painful symphony. I heard James's voice, no, not James, but the real him, the traitor rising from somewhere in the crowd. Emma, my love, what's happening? His voice trembled, but I knew it was an act. I wanted to open my eyes to scream in his face, but my body wouldn't obey. A cold wave was spreading through my veins as if the pill he mentioned was silently doing its work. Someone, perhaps a hotel staff member, lifted me gently but urgently. The wedding dress dragged across the floor, its shimmering pearls now like forgotten teardrops. I was placed in a car, and in my daze, I felt James sitting beside me, my head resting on his lap. He was crying, or at least pretending to, his theatrical sobs ringing out like a well-rehearsed play. "You promised we'd grow old together, Emma," he whispered, his voice dripping with feigned pain. But I knew the truth. In his heart there was no sorrow, only the joy of victory. I wanted to scream, to grab him and force him to confess, but the darkness within me grew thicker. Through the fading cracks of my consciousness, I felt the car speeding through Manhattan's streets. The sound of sirens' tires screeching and my own faint heartbeat blended into a strange rhythm. Behind us, the convoy of my family, my father's stepmother, uncles, aunts, and guests followed like an unwilling funeral procession. I imagined my father's worried eyes, my stepmother's hand clutching his, and my heart ached. Did they know the truth? Could they see the monster sitting beside me, pretending to cradle my head in grief? When the car stopped at the hospital gates, the sound of doors slamming open pulled me from my haze. James leapt out, his voice ringing out like a skilled actor. "She's not breathing. Please save her." I was placed on a stretcher, the wheels rattling on the hospital floor like a drumbeat of fate. My stepmother ran alongside, her cries echoing, "Don't let her die. That's my daughter." But even in my fading consciousness, I felt the emptiness in her words. Did she truly love me, or was she part of this performance? In the emergency room, the harsh white lights glared down on my body. Nurses surrounded me, machines beeping, and I felt an oxygen mask placed over my face. James sat in the waiting room, his hands cradling his head, rocking back and forth as if consumed by grief. But I knew through every glance he stole at the wall clock that he was counting the seconds, waiting for the moment I passed to complete his plan. At one point, his phone lit up with a message, "Congratulations, she's gone." I couldn't see the smile on his lips, but I felt it cold and triumphant, like a predator who had felled its prey. Time crawled by, each second a stab to my heart. My father stood motionless in the hallway, his face pale, his lips pressed tightly together. He said nothing, but his eyes shimmered with tears like broken diamonds. I wanted to reach out to tell him I was still here, but my body was trapped in weakness. Guests gathered, whispering, praying, but it all felt distant. In this cold room, it was just me and the truth that the man I loved most had betrayed me, that the high society I once prided myself on now revealed its false face, where love and loyalty were traded for money and power. I thought of America, of the American dream. I once believed in that hard work, kindness, and love would always prevail. But now I saw it clearly. Power and greed could twist everything, turning those closest to you into enemies. I couldn't let them win. Though weak, though lying on the edge of life and death, I vowed to myself, I will live and I will make those who betrayed me pay. The cold white lights of the emergency room still burned into my barely open eyes. The steady beeping of the heart monitor sounded like a reminder that I was still alive, though only by a fragile thread. The oxygen mask weighed heavily on my face, but my breaths were shallow, like a breeze before a storm. In my mind, James's voice echoed, "Just make sure she takes one more pill," each word a slash to my heart. But then another feeling rose, not pain, but a fire of anger. I, Emma Thompson, would not let myself become a victim of this betrayal. I heard the soft footsteps of a nurse approaching. She checked the monitor, jotted something down, then turned to leave. I knew this was my chance. With the little strength I had left, I whispered through the oxygen mask, my voice faint but resolute, Don't tell them I'm awake." The nurse paused, her eyes widening in surprise. "Miss Thompson, your family is out there. They're worried sick." I shook my head slightly, each movement draining me. "I know," I whispered, "but promise me, not a word." She looked into my eyes, and I saw understanding dawn in hers. Not just sympathy, but recognition that I was fighting to survive, not just physically, but mentally. She nodded softly, saying, "I promise." As she left, I lay there, letting the darkness of the room swallow my thoughts. I thought of James, of his fake smile as he held my head in the car, of the smug message he sent, thinking he had won. I thought of Sarah, the best friend I once shared every secret with, now a co-conspirator in a plot to kill me for money. But most of all, I thought of myself, of the life I had built from a poor girl in the Boston suburbs to a self-made millionaire, only to see those I loved turn their backs for greed. This was America, where I once believed hard work and kindness would be rewarded. But now I saw the dark side of that dream power, and money could turn people into monsters. I needed a plan, a way to turn the tables. I couldn't let James and Sarah get away with their crime, couldn't let their greed triumph. And then the idea came, bold, dangerous, but the only way. I would fake my death. I would let them think they had succeeded, let them reveal their true faces, so I could see who was behind this plot. But I needed help, and there was only one person I trusted completely, Dr. Allen, who had cared for me since my childhood battles with illness. I signaled for the nurse to call him. When Dr. Allen entered with his silver hair and kind eyes, I felt a spark of hope. He pulled a chair close, took my hand, and said in a warm, steady voice, "Tell me, Emma, what's going on?" I took a deep breath, though each one was painful, and told him everything. "James and Sarah," I began, my voice trembling. "They want to kill me." I heard James talking about a pill that it would end me before or after the wedding. They want my money, my properties. And Sarah, she's part of it. Each word felt like a cut, but I forced myself to continue. "I think they've been poisoning me for a long time, bit by bit. I need your help, Dr. Allen. I need to fake my death." He leaned back, his face showing shock but also determination. "You're talking about a murder plot," he said, his voice low but firm. "If you're certain, I'll help. But Emma, this is a dangerous game." I nodded, my eyes locked on his. "I know. But I have no choice. I need to know the truth. Who's behind this, who truly loves me and who only wants my money." Dr. Allen sighed, then nodded. "There's a drug," he said, "that will slow your heart rate, make your body cold, make you appear dead. But you'll still be conscious, still alive. Are you sure you want to do this?" I looked straight into his eyes, the fire within me burning brighter than ever. I've never been more certain. They think they can take everything from me, my life, my dreams, my future. But I'll show them I'm stronger than that. I'm Emma Thompson, and I won't let them win. He stood, checked the machines around me, then returned with a vial of clear liquid. "Get ready," he said, his voice low but resolute. "From this moment, you're stepping into a relentless battle, and I'll be here by your side." I nodded, my heart pounding despite my frail body. I wasn't just fighting for my life, but for justice, for truth, and for the unyielding spirit of an American woman, one who would never bow to injustice, even from those she loved most. I lay motionless in the mahogany coffin placed in the center of the lavish living room of my Hamptons mansion. A thin veil covered my body, cold as the death I was pretending to embrace. Dr. Allen's drug had worked its terrifying magic. My heart rate was so slow it was nearly undetectable, my skin cold as marble, and my breath so faint no one would suspect. But I could still hear, still feel, and my heart, though beating slowly, burned with determination to expose those who had betrayed me. The mansion, once vibrant with extravagant parties and laughter, was now steeped in the heavy air of a staged funeral. Candles flickered around me, the scent of lilies lingered in the air, and the soft whispers of mourners formed a mournful melody. I heard footsteps, fake sobs, and calculated murmurs. Each sound, each word was a piece of the puzzle I was trying to assemble. They thought I was dead, but I was a living ghost, observing every move, every glance, to see who truly loved me and who only coveted my wealth. James came first, as I expected. The sound of his polished leather shoes echoed on the wooden floor, each step like a drumbeat in his deceitful performance. "Oh, Emma, my love," he whispered, his voice trembling with theatrical emotion. I heard him kneel beside the coffin, his hand touching the veil as if grieving. But I knew better. His heart wasn't breaking. It was dancing, reveling in the belief that his wicked plan had succeeded. Then Sarah entered, her high heels clicking, her black dress clinging to her like a statement of hypocrisy. She left us too soon. Sarah sobbed, but her voice trembled not with sorrow but with excitement. I sensed the moment they clasped hands, a secret squeeze right beside my body. "Finally, we'll have everything," James whispered, and Sarah responded with a soft laugh. "I can't wait to own the beach house." My heart felt torn apart. James, the man I had dreamed of a future with, and Sarah, the friend I considered a sister, stood there mocking my death. They didn't just want my money, they wanted to erase me as if I were merely an obstacle in their path of ambition. I wanted to leap up to scream in their faces, but I stayed silent, letting the fire of my anger smolder, waiting for its moment to erupt. On the second day, my step-siblings Ethan and Chloe entered. I had spent my life caring for them, funding Ethan's business, supporting Chloe's lavish lifestyle. I thought they loved me, but their words cut like knives. "I'm taking her luxury cars," Ethan said, his voice brimming with excitement, as if picking items from a store. Chloe smirked. "Take the cars, I want the beach house, it's perfect for parties." They laughed, their tone suggesting I was nothing but a collection of assets, not their sister. "Honestly, I don't get why people liked her," Ethan said, his voice dripping with contempt. "She was just good at making money." Chloe laughed loudly. "Exactly. Always so serious, no fun. If it weren't for her money, I wouldn't have bothered talking to her." I lay there motionless, but inside a storm raged. The people I had loved, sacrificed for, now mocked my death as if I were nothing but a big paycheck. On the third day, my father William and my stepmother entered. My father stood by the coffin, his voice choking as he whispered, "My daughter, my firstborn." A tear fell, and for a moment I almost believed he was truly grieving. But then my stepmother placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice sweet but cold. "I know this is hard, darling, but now we won't have to ask her for money anymore. It's all yours." My heart stopped. My father, the man I had admired, the one I had spent my life trying to please, only nodded. "You're right," he said, his voice flat. "I did everything for her growing up. This is fair." I wanted to scream, to ask why he let greed blind his love. But the truth was clear, even my father had been swayed by money. On the fourth day, my mother Linda entered. Unlike the others, she didn't glance around the room or notice the mansion's opulence. She knelt beside the coffin, her trembling hand touching mine. "My baby," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry, my love. I never wanted to leave you." Her tears fell warm on my cold skin. "I fought to be with you, but your father wouldn't allow it. He said he'd make you hate me, and he did." Her words crashed over me like a wave washing away years of believing she didn't love me. It was all a lie, my father's manipulation to keep us apart. I wanted to hug her, to tell her I was still here, but I had to continue this act, though my heart broke with pain and hope. On the fifth day, my household staff came. They stood in a line, crying, quietly praying. Unlike my family, their grief was real. They weren't just losing me, they were losing security, the jobs, the home I had provided. Among them, Daniel, my driver, stood apart. When the others left, he stayed approaching the coffin. I heard his shaky breath, his hand gripping the coffin's edge. "I'm sorry, Emma," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I saw things I shouldn't have. James, Sarah, they're not who you think. I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid you wouldn't believe me." My heart pounded harder, though the drug kept it slow. Did Daniel know something? What had he seen? Then he spoke, his voice soft but filled with pain. "I love you, Emma. From the moment I met you at that mall, I knew my heart was yours." His words were a ray of light piercing my darkness. "I became a driver just to be near you, to see you every day. But now it's too late." His tears fell warm on the veil. I wanted to reach out to tell him it wasn't too late, that I heard him, but I couldn't. Daniel loved me, truly loved me, not for money or power. In a sea of betrayal, he was my only lighthouse. Lying under the veil, I felt the fire within me burn brighter. I wasn't just fighting for my life, but for justice, for people like Daniel and my mother, who loved me truly. I thought of America, of the values I once believed in: honesty, loyalty, and relentless spirit. People like James, Sarah, Ethan, Chloe, and even my father had trampled those values, turning the American dream into a nightmare of greed. But I wouldn't let them win. I would rise. And when I did, they would see that Emma Thompson was not easy prey. On the 10th day, the grand living room of my Hamptons mansion was cloaked in oppressive silence, as if the space itself held its breath for the inevitable. I still lay under the veil, my body motionless, but my mind sharper than ever. The whispers of family, friends, and betrayers echoed around me. James, Sarah, Ethan, Chloe, my father William, my stepmother, and others, all gathered, pretending to mourn, but their eyes glinted with greed. They weren't here to grieve for me. They were here to divide the wealth they thought I'd left behind. But today, they would receive a different gift: the truth. My lawyer, Mr. Harrison, entered his polished shoes, clicking on the wooden floor. I heard him set his briefcase on the table, his voice ringing out clear and cold as a blade. Before we read the will, Mrs. Thompson had one final request. You must watch this first. I sensed the tension in the air as he plugged a USB into the large screen on the wall. Gasps filled the room as the first video played images of James and Sarah, hand in hand, laughing as they entered a hotel. Their secret moments unfolded, clearly stolen kisses, whispered plans to seize my wealth. James's smug voice talking about the pill that ended me. "Turn it off!" James shouted, his voice cracking with panic. He lunged toward the screen, but Mr. Harrison raised a hand, his voice sharp as steel. "This is Mrs. Thompson's wish. We will watch to the end." The room fell into a deathly silence, only broken by the slow beating of my heart under the drug's effect. But inside I was singing with victory. The video continued secret meetings, wicked whispers, all exposing James and Sarah's betrayal. No one dared look at each other. Their faces paled like ghosts caught in the light. Then the screen changed and my voice rang out strong, sharp, and laced with sarcasm. "Now that I've seen how much you all love me, I said this is my will." Everyone in the room held their breath. I imagined their eyes widening, their hearts racing as they saw me, Emma Thompson, not a corpse, but a vibrant woman staring into the camera with blazing eyes. To my fiancé and my childhood best friend James and Sarah, the ones I loved most, I continued, my voice dripping with irony. "From this moment, you lose everything I ever gave you. The divorce papers have been filed. You will leave with nothing." Gasps echoed through the room. James staggered, his face ashen, while Sarah clutched her chest, her mouth agape in disbelief. I continued, my voice icy. "To my step-siblings, Ethan and Chloe, you each get $1,500. Take it and never show your faces to me or anything of mine again." Murmurs of discontent rose, but I didn't stop. "To my father William and his wife, I leave $1 million, not out of love, but so my hatred doesn't affect your children. After today, we are strangers." I heard my father sob, but it no longer moved me. He had chosen money over me. Then my voice softened, trembling with emotion. "To my mother Linda, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for pushing you away all these years. From today, I will try to make things right." A choked sob came from my mother and my heart tightened. Finally, I turned to Daniel, my driver, who loved me truly. "My dear Daniel," I said, my voice soft but firm, "I loved you from the moment you entered my life, but I thought I had to stay loyal to another man. Now I know the truth. In front of everyone, I want to say, will you be my partner? If you say yes, I will be the happiest woman alive." The room fell silent. Then the door burst open. I stepped out, no longer a body under a veil, but Emma Thompson, alive, strong and radiant in a simple white dress. Gasps filled the room. Some clutched their chests. Others stepped back, stunned into silence. Daniel stood there, his eyes wide, his breath catching. He rushed to me, enveloping me in a tight embrace, and for the first time in days, I felt the warmth of true love. My mother ran to me, tears streaming down her face, hugging me as if she'd never let go. The others, James, Sarah, Ethan, Chloe, my father, sat frozen like statues crushed by the truth. But the story didn't end there. A loud knock echoed from the mansion's main door. Police officers stepped in their dark blue uniforms, stark, their eyes cold. James Carter Sarah Miller, the lead officer, said, his voice booming like thunder, "You are under arrest for the attempted murder of Mrs. Emma Thompson." The room shook again. James leapt up, his face red, shouting, "This is insane. Emma's standing right there. How can you arrest me for murder?" Sarah nodded frantically, her voice trembling. "We love Emma. We would never hurt her." But I stepped forward, my eyes burning like fire. "Love me," I said, my voice sharp as a blade. "You fed me pills every day, James. You poisoned me little by little for money. Did you think I wouldn't know?" James fell silent, his jaw clenched, his eyes revealing panic. Sarah sobbed, but the officers didn't hesitate. They handcuffed them both, dragging them out, the metallic click of the cuffs, like the final note of their crime. I stood there watching them be led away, two people I once loved, now mere shadows. Daniel took my hand, his fingers warm and steady. "You're free now," he whispered. I took a deep breath, feeling the fresh air fill my lungs. For the first time in years, I felt truly free, not just from James's plot, but from the deceit of those I once called family. I looked at my mother, Linda, and saw her smile through her tears. I looked at Daniel, the man who loved me not for money or power, and I knew that from the ashes of betrayal I would build a new life. This story is a testament to a truth: when greed and power cross the line, a woman with an unyielding will can overturn any plot and rewrite her own fate. I, Emma Thompson, rose from the darkness of betrayal not just to survive, but to reclaim justice and true love. The lesson for us all is this: never let anyone extinguish the fire within you. Fight, rise, and trust in the power of truth, for that is the American spirit, one that never bows to injustice.